guys, so initially we have been talking about Netflix and we've been talking about Warner Bros. But tonight we are going to add somebody else to the mix, and that will be Paramount. Now, I made a short video, wherever you may be seeing this, and just kind of talking about what I was looking for with this Netflix and this Warner Bros. Partnership. Now, Warner Bros. Is under $30, okay? And Netflix, on the other hand, of course, they 10-for-1 split, and they are now way under $1,000. So they're $100 stock now, much more cheaper. Now, I am long term on Netflix, as I've always been, but Warner Bros. On the other hand, I kind of look at when AT&T, first sold Warner Bros. Back in 2022, they were about $24, and they came all the way down under $10 after that acquisition took place. So this is why when I said in that previous video that I'm not fully bullish on Warner Bros. Just yet. I want to see what these first 30 days will look like. But I also want to remind everyone, just because Netflix won the bid for Warner Bros., this entire acquisition has not fully been approved yet. One of the biggest things we have to look at is the size of the acquisition. So Netflix is offering, or has offered, a all-cash deal of $70+ billion. But they also took on $10 billion of Warner Bros. Debt. So this entire deal cost over $80 billion. Now, when stuff like this happen, Netflix is massive on its own, right? This streaming platform. They are one of the, grandfathers rather, of this entire streaming space. Started as DVDs, they moved into the streaming, and then we start to see a lot more individuals coming to the scene. And HBO Max under Warner Bros. Is one of them. And this is part of this deal. They're purchasing Warner Bros. And all of their proprietary property in terms of shows and all of that, as well as the HBO Max streaming proprietary property. The entire portfolio. You have it under there. You have Game of Thrones, which we watch on HBO Max. I still can't really wrap my head around potentially watching Game of Thrones on Netflix, depending on how this thing goes, but hey, we shall see if this thing is even approved. Then we have things, we have Harry Potter and everything that comes along with DC Comics' entire universe will also go to Netflix, but that's if this deal is approved. Now, they're looking at this as a monopoly. And we already know what that looks like when it comes to let's just say a social media company acquiring another. And let's say Meta of all decides they want to own all of the social media platforms. This would be a huge monopoly because they take up the entire market share. Now, Netflix buying Warner Bros. And buying HBO Max wouldn't take up all of the space in the streaming world, but it will definitely take up a massive, massive market share, and they are kind of under that monopoly, microscope to potentially look into it before this thing is even approved. It doesn't stop there. Paramount has decided, okay, we're going to come in and offer a hostile takeover bid. Now, this is also an all-cash deal, and their deal is a $108 billion all-cash deal. Now, the bid war was between Netflix, Comcast, and Paramount, but Warner Bros. Liked Netflix offer, and they liked their entire bid, their landscape, and they went with Netflix. But Paramount was determined, and they decided that they wanted to come in. Netflix got their deal at $28 a share on Warner Bros. But Paramount has come in offering $30 per share. So now the girls are fighting again, and we got to see how this thing is going to play out. If Warner Bros. Is going to stay with Netflix and decide they're going to continue to pursue their acquisition, or if Paramount is going to come in and swoop the deal. We're going to go to the charts and we're going to look at it. But before we do, we're going to go to this article on Yahoo Finance, and we are going to kind of read through this deal that Paramount now has. The article says Ellison Paramount makes a $108 billion cash offer for Warner Bros. Discovery, escalating buyout fight with Netflix. Now, let's go and read a little bit of those deals. And their ticker is PSKY. We'll take a look at their charts. Paramount Skydance announced on Monday a bid to acquire Warner Bros. Discovery in a all-cash deal worth $30 per share, with a total value of $108.4 billion, as the company moves to top Netflix deal struck last week to acquire the story studio. Paramount stock rose more than 9% after the announcement, while Warner Bros. Stock rose as much as 7%. Netflix shares lost over 3%. Now, I've been waiting for Netflix to come under that $100 mark, right at that $100 mark, to get some more shares on that thing, but this thing can come down a little bit more. We got some people speculating we can hit 87, maybe even lower. The lower it goes, the better, in my opinion, because once we start getting down there, it's even easier to get some more shares and ride this thing back up long term. So don't let this short term drop fool you, okay? It will be the perfect time to buy up and let it ride long term. Right? Let's read the last bit here. Paramount bid on Monday will see the company acquire all of Warner Bros. Assets. On Friday, Netflix agreed to acquire Warner Bros. TV, film, studios, and streaming division for $72 billion in equity value, roughly 27.75 cents per share, in a cash and stock deal worth $82.7 billion that will see Warner Bros. Shareholders receive $23.35 per share, along with a $4.50 in Netflix common stock. Okay, so that's something too to kind of consider, and why they are seeing Paramount as a hostile, I guess I would say a hostile offer, because they are offering $108 billion in all cash. Netflix, on the other hand, I did not catch that part, but they will also receive $4.50 in Netflix common stock. So Paramount is coming with offering more, just straight cash. So making their deal a little bit more enticing than Netflix. So we have to see if Warner Bros. Genuinely don't want to go with Comcast and Paramount, because they did say they weren't interested in selling Warner Bros. To either of them, and Netflix was who they wanted to go with. So this would definitely be interesting to see if the money will result in them pulling the rug on Netflix and making their way to Paramount. So we definitely gotta watch. If that happens, there's a possibility Netflix stock can come back down, and we can see Warner Bros. Push up a little bit more. So definitely some levels to watch on that thing. Paramount right now sitting at $14.57. They were up $1.20 today, which is a 9% increase. Okay, so as you can see, Paramount at this very moment, very, very affordable and very much attainable. We just got to see how this thing rides out. Okay, so now we're going to go to the charts, and we're going to look at Netflix, Paramount, and Warner Bros. And I want to give you guys some levels that I want you to kind of watch throughout the week and as this bidding war goes. So we're going to start with Paramount. Now, Paramount closed at $14.57. Now, the levels on this one is going to be fairly simple, okay? I want to see this thing open back above this little area here at about $14.71. Getting back above this area here from where we had this previous support. As you can see, we broke through that support, and I want to see that it does not become resistance. Now, I'm on a 4-hour time frame. I'm primarily a swing trader, so I'm using my higher time frames when I'm planning out my trades. Okay, now this one initially would have to be something a little bit more long term, because this is a long game here, where even if they do win the bid, the bid still has to be approved. And not only is it a massive bid, it's even bigger than what Netflix bid was. So that alone could also put a few hurdles there in this thing being approved. So still a long game here. But if you are looking to potentially day trade or looking for a good spot to get in, then of course these levels can still be used. So this here around this 14.57 where they close, I need to see it back over that, but I definitely want to see this thing get back above this support here that it broke below. Now this is from November 7th, so this was early last month where we were here, we came back up and it broke here. Now a lot of this little downpour we see from here to here probably came from them losing the bid to Netflix, and people probably just start selling off. Okay, so the first level, it would be that 14.71, and then I will also look right up in this area here at around 15.39, right up in this little area here, to be a target. My next target I will be looking for is this stuff up here. Always keep in mind how a stock move on a daily basis. If it does not make these massive moves to where it may go from $14 to $14.92, and you may notice that this stock is only moving 50, 60 cents, a dollar on a day, then that will also give you an idea of how long you will probably need to hold that trade, or at least for how long you'll need on your expiration. Paramount is one of those ones I will probably be looking to hold for 3, 4, 6 weeks, or at least that amount of time of my expiration. That way I give this thing time to play out. Okay, so I have a number of levels here, but I'm not really looking fully to the upside until we get over certain levels to make sure that this thing can hold. So right now, 1471, 1542, 1604, and of course this higher level right up in here where we kind of had that previous rejection here, and you can kind of see where it was also a rejection there, and it did not get back above that. So let's get this to be exactly this little point here, which is, let's see, 1715 to be exact. Okay, so I want to see how this thing reacts to these upside levels. And of course, it needs to get above this to push any higher, right? Upside levels. Now, to the downside, if it rejects here at this 1471, where we had that old support, remember when something breaks support, it become resistant and vice versa. So rejecting there, this thing could push back down to between 1422 and about 1401. That will probably be my initial goal there to kind of see if it holds up. And if it doesn't, then we have this lower stuff right up in here around $13.15. And I'm gonna bring this over just a little bit and put a box here so you can kind of see what we are working with. Okay, so it needs to hold above $13.15. If it breaks below $13.15, then we come in lower to $12, and this low point here at about $9.91. So getting below that is going further. Now the RSI on this one, remember on the 4-hour time frame, is sitting at about 43. Remember, 50 on the RSI can act as sort of a neutral zone or a reversal zone. So getting back above that 50, then there's a chance that we can kind of continue to push up. But rejecting that 50 on that RSI, it could possibly come back down. We just have to see how this thing goes. So this right here is sort of the scope that we are working with. This thing could make a run if they do win the bid. If Warner Bros. Decides to come with them, it's a nice spot. If you got a quick $28, $30, you can get quick 2 shares just to kind of get your feet wet, to kind of ride this thing up. But if you're someone like myself that kind of want to look at this thing from a larger lens, hitting that daily, hitting that weekly to kind of see what it's doing, then do that as well. Okay, but that 13.15 could be a good spot. It just all depends on if it holds up. So watch that in these upside levels to simply see how they react before you hop in. Now let's go to Netflix and let's see where they closed out on today. So these were some levels here. I made a post where, some levels to watch on Netflix and Warner Bros. And for the most part, these levels to the downside held up. We didn't get to this final target, but we did slightly come to that $94 mark. And listen, Netflix could possibly get to that $80 mark, especially if Warner retracts on, selling to them and go over. This thing could come back down some more. Now remember, Netflix is a long game. It is a long-term stock. So the lower it get and the more attainable it becomes, don't fret. This is the time to buy up. Now the stock split for this one was on the 17th of November, and that's kind of what we've been working with. It does not trade the same when it was $1,000 stock, but hey, it's much more easier to trade now because it's much cheaper. We hit was 95.30. And I had this target at 94.82 and then a even 92 down here. Now the RSI is pretty oversold. As you guys can see, we are down to 30 now. And because it's so oversold, we can probably expect this thing to push up more. And it getting to 92 would make it extremely oversold. And we can probably expect this thing to start getting up for a bigger move to the upside, with or without this whole merger happening It's just getting to a level that people are ready to buy up. When this thing first became $1,000 stock, it gets back to those levels to where it was before it got to that point. The lower we get in, the better the ride up. And that's exactly the game plan with Netflix. But if you are looking to trade this thing, these same levels that I posted, wherever you may be seeing this and you saw the post, those same levels are valid. As of right now, if it does get below this 94.82, then 92 is still the level that I am watching for it to come down. Breaking below that 92, we are definitely coming lower. But if it holds up at this support here, we can probably retest 97.77. We get there. If we can break above this resistance here at 103.36, we got 107.48 and 111.05. That is the level that their IPO, not their IPO, but their stock split went to was $111. So that 111 will definitely be a nice level to watch to be able to push higher. Warner Bros. Closed out today at, let's see, they closed out today at 27.23. The same levels that I shared yesterday are the same valid levels that will work that I want you guys to watch. Okay, we did hit up here and broke just above 27.45, and you can see we kind of came back down and it did not push back over it. So these same levels will still work. This here was the level that I wanted to see a break and hold take place, so it left us with a gap here. Okay, so there's a possibility they can come back, refill that gap at about 26.09, push it back up, 26.85. We got 27.45, 28.92, and we got 30.27. To be that highest resistance, we need to break for there to push higher. Everything else below, we have another little very tiny gap down here around this $24 area, and so retesting here could fill that gap as well. And then we got 23.51 and 22.59 as these downside levels to watch. So those same levels are still valid. Now this RSI in this case is sitting at 82. I'm on a 4-hour. So this thing pushed up fairly nicely, but when that RSI starts to becoming extremely overbought like that, we can probably expect some downside to be coming in. So I wouldn't be surprised if they correct a little bit, fill this gap and this gap before it makes another move up. If we can get back to 22, I would probably actually look to make a move there and ride it back up. 22 would be my ideal spot, but it's all about how these levels hold up. In terms of riding it back down, I would want to see how the rejection takes place at 29 and 30 to potentially get into a put and ride it down. So simply react to what you see on the charts before you go in and make a huge move. But these are three that has been the topic of the conversation, and Paramount just put their stuff back in the group chat on the day, so definitely worth watching to see if Warner Bros is going to fold and take their deal after they clearly said that they want to. So got to see how that plays out, and however it plays out, just make sure that you are on the right side of the trade. And with that, I will see you guys in the next one.